Hey guys, Jacqueline here with Zenith Home Loans. Thank you so much for joining me today for our TCA Tuesday, Total Cost Analysis Tuesday. So the scenario that I have for you today has me like super jazzed up and not in a good way. I was super fired up yesterday when I found out about this deal that my client was doing with another lender because it was the absolute wrong financial scenario for what she was wanting to do. So she's a past client of mine, just a little backstory. Past client of mine, I've done 2 refinances for her in the past. One to consolidate a first and second and get her out of an FHA loan, and then one to just bring the rate down because there were some rate and term opportunities for her. So we did a refinance for her last May. Rate was on the lower side, really not a reason to look at a refinance, but she got herself into a little bit of debt, some high interest loans that we needed to get her out of. So she had reached out to me because she'd already started the process with this other lender, but wasn't super happy with kind of how things were going. She wasn't on my radar to check in with, and that's my own fault. But again, there didn't appear to be any big refinance opportunities, but I wasn't aware of her current situation. So she reached out, she's like, hey, here's what's going on. I need to pay off about $30,000 worth of debt. And they went ahead and they put mortgage insurance back on my loan. And, but they told me that I could go ahead and refinance in a couple of months. And I'm like, that's interesting, because if you do a cash out refinance to do debt consolidation, then you have to leave at least 20% equity in the property, meaning you don't need mortgage insurance. So I was like, send me over the paperwork. Let me take a look at it, because as a past client of mine, I'm always going to look for the best refinance opportunities for you, but I'm also going to pay for part of your closing costs because I want to keep your costs down so that we're really making sure that we're taking advantage of these lower rate opportunities where we can. So at minimum, I know I can save her some money there. So she sends me over the breakdown and I start reading through it and I see that they've got her rate pretty low, 3.5%. And I'm like, okay, she's at 3.6 right now, but that's not what the market's doing. So that was kind of confusing for me. And then I got to the part where the mortgage insurance was in play and it was really expensive. And I was like, oh my goodness, they're putting her out of a conventional loan into an FHA loan, which absolutely does not make sense. Her credit's a little bit on the lower side. In the grand scheme of things, what we're looking for a cash out refinance with a higher debt to income, but it's because she's gotten herself into a little bit of credit trouble, but she's got a ton of equity in her house. There's absolutely no reason for her to be in an FHA loan because she's still leaving the 20% equity. So that was the first thing. And my first red flag was like, okay, so we're charging her an extra $254 per month in mortgage insurance on top of the $6,000 in financed mortgage insurance. So now I'm adding to her loan balance. And then on top of that, they were charging her a 1% origination fee for a lower rate. And I was like, okay, so you're adding around $10,000 in fees for someone who needs extra cash for debt consolidation. And then they're already talking about refinancing her. Now, guys, when you do a buy down point, the big thing that you need to look at is how much am I saving and how much is it going to cost me up front and where's my break even? In one example, so let's say the buy down cost, it's 1%. So it's $3,800, $3,900, $4,000 to make it easy. And let's just say she's saving $50 a month. So it's going to take her 80 months to recoup that cost, like 7 years and some change. But they're talking about refinancing her within months. So let's just call it 6 months. So I basically just lit all of her money on fire. Like that's such a terrible loan scenario from what she needs. So I'm going to share my screen with you because I want you guys to kind of see how we restructured this so that I can kind of talk you through it. So what we've got here, so this current right here, so this is the way her loan is currently set up. She's at 3.625, monthly payments 1921. You can see our freedom point. So when we're going to be done with the loan, 29.42 years. Again, she just did this refinance in May. She's only been making house payments since August. The other lender had her set up with an FHA loan. We are lowering the rate and we're increasing this monthly payment to $23.49 and we're getting access to $29,000. Okay, so in essence, not that big of a deal. But if we compare it to a conventional cash out option, look at, guys, this is increasing my rate 1% and not the greatest rate increase. We definitely don't want to increase a rate this much, but for her financial perspective, even though the higher rate is going to be more in interest, we're eliminating all of her high interest credit cards. So we're probably talking anywhere between 8 to 25%. Okay. And then we're completely eliminating the need for mortgage insurance because we're not doing an FHA loan. So we're able to keep this payment about, like $65 less per month. And we're getting her an extra $6,000 back at closing. And so what that does for someone like her, it allows her to pay off three more credit cards. So if we click on more info, this is breaking down the payment. So we go from the mortgage insurance payment, you guys, it's $253. It's unnecessary. And then the other thing that we were able to do, so look at these costs. So we've got her APR costs, her non-APR costs, her points, $3,900, upfront mortgage insurance premium, $6,700. This is asinine. Like I'm appalled that this is my industry, because they're just putting her in a really terrible position from a financial perspective and of how much these costs should be. I was able to include an additional $3,400 in closing cost credits so that we could keep her cash out of pocket as low as possible, because the goal here is let's wipe out the credit card debt. Let's get this refinanced to cost as little as possible. She's going to end up paying, I think it's about $600 in closing costs because of the credits and everything that we're able to add in here. And as a result, be able to pay off three more credit cards. She's going to improve her cash flow, even though the payment is higher, even though the rate is higher than where she is right now. With the debt that we're paying off, she's improving her cash flow just on those first three credit cards by, I think it was $75 per month. And then when we eliminate the other three, it improves her cash flow by an additional $300, because they're all about $100 per month each, even though the balances were on the lower side, because again, her credit score is a little bit lower and she's got a lot of debt. So these credit card companies are charging her more. So now she's able, we were in essence, with all the way we've structured this, we're going to be knocking out 7 credit cards, eliminating almost $1,000 when it's all said and done in credit card payments. Yes, we increased her monthly payment. Yes, we increased her interest rate, but we're improving her overall financial picture, because now her credit scores are going to go up, because we're going to get rid of all that credit card debt. We're going to leave those credit cards open so that we can keep that credit card history. We're going to let her make a couple of payments. And because I was able to keep her closing costs on the lower side, then when I go to do a refinance in 6 months, 8 months, whatever it is, this rate's going to be lower. Her credit scores are going to be higher. So I'm going to be able to get this payment back down, probably not close to the 3.65, depending on what the market's doing, but for a heck of a lot cheaper than this FHA loan. And this is why it's so important to know your numbers, to make sure that you're working with somebody that you trust to look out for your bottom line, not their bottom line, your bottom line, because this lender is just interested in getting a loan closed. I'm interested in the overall financial well-being of my clients for the long term. And that's the type of person that you want looking out for you, because she even made a comment when I emailed her back and I said, don't do this loan. At minimum, don't do the buy down points. It just doesn't make sense. You're paying extra cash and she needs that cash. They're robbing her essentially of about $4,000 that I'm able to give back to her. That's going to knock out 2 or 3 more credit cards. Like, that's important in the grand scheme of things for her. So yes, everybody wants a low rate. Everybody wants a low payment. Everybody wants to bring as little to closing as possible. I completely get that. I am there for it. I understand. I want the same thing for you, but I also want to make sure that we're setting you up for financial success for the long term. And so what we're going to be able to do for her is get all this debt paid off, let her rebuild her credit, and in 6, 12 months, whatever it is, refinance her into a rate and term refinance, which is just by its nature going to have a little bit lower of an interest rate. Hopefully the market's doing a little bit better at that time. We're going to be able to drop that payment, and I'm still going to be able to keep her closing costs low. So the bottom line is just because the rate is really low, look at your costs, know what to look for. And unfortunately, because the average consumer doesn't do a refinance or a purchase transaction that often, sometimes they just don't know what to look for. That's my job, is to look out for you and make sure that the fees are appropriate for what you're trying to do, and make sure that I'm actively listening to what you're looking for from a financial perspective, and make sure I'm not putting you in a position that is going to hurt you in the long run. If you look at I'm going to share my screen with you again. If you look at the loan amounts, I'm taking her loan amount to 384 because I don't have that finance mortgage insurance. We're losing more equity. She's at 390 versus 384. So these are the things that matter in a rising interest rate environment and just in a general home purchasing and financing environment in general. You need there to be somebody that's looking out for your bottom line, that's going to provide world-class service for you, make sure they're taking care of you as the consumer, making sure that they're looking out for your bottom line, your best interests. And I'm confident that that's what I've done for this client. And I truly believe that even though we've got a higher rate, that I'm going to do so much more for her from an education standpoint, helping her pay off some of this other debt, and then just get her to a better position overall in her finances. We've already had conversations about what next steps should be, and I'm going to just help her guide her through that journey. And I'm grateful for the opportunity. So I hope this is really helpful information. I know there's in a rising rate environment, people start to freak out because the rates are going up. Don't worry about that. Make sure that the loan structure is the best for you currently in your current financial situation and for the long run. And the only person who can dictate what that is you, and making sure that you're asking the right questions. And if I can be that person for you, I would love the opportunity to interview for the job, and just to make sure that you're always in the very best loan parameters. So I hope this was super helpful for you. I was super jazzed up yesterday and was really excited to share this with you guys today, just because it's just so important. And I've seen this a lot. And clients constantly are like, hey, I got quoted a really low rate. Can you take a look at it? And they're getting charged $10, $20, $30,000 in fees. And there's no reason for that. I can think of so many other way more fun ways to spend 30 grand. So anyways, I hope this was helpful. Let me know if you have questions. Let me know what I can do to help. That's what I'm here for. And I hope you guys have a great day.